Oh, my God. I'm watching SportsCenter, and they just covered the Yankees. You want to hear some bad stats? Most strikeouts through 15 games ever.
For an offense, is what you're saying.
Worst batting average since 1968, and 1968 was their all-time worst. 214 as a team. But that was the year that Carl Yastrzemski won the batting title with a 301 average.
Yeah,
that's the year Denny McClain won 31 games, and that's Bob Gibson had a 1.12 ERA and lost 9 games.
Yeah.
So that was a weird year.
Yeah.
And the Yankees, with that 214 average, finished 4 games above 500.
Yeah.
So, anyway.
Yeah.
They also had the best pitching ever.
Why don't we talk MLB? Because I've been thinking about, I'm a Mets fan, but I've been thinking about this one take on the Yankees for a couple days now. So it's not that I think this is going to happen. Okay. I'm mostly sure that the Yankees will make the playoffs, probably as the AL East champions. Because I don't think that the division is very strong. I don't think that Tampa Bay's lineup is strong. I think that the Red Sox are pretenders.
They're only 8-8 themselves.
Yeah, but either way, so yes, I think the Yankees are probably going to make the playoffs, but we should not write them in anymore. We've been doing that the past couple of years, right? We've been saying like, oh, this is the Yankees' year. I have a feeling this is the year the Yankees finally break the World Series drought. This is the year that they win the AL. This is the year that they win the World Series. We've been writing them in as a playoff team and completely disregarding that. We've been writing them in as like the AL champs. We have to stop doing that. This team is more brand name than it is good because they are not well constructed. That may be controversial. I don't care, but
it's not. Everybody's saying it.
Yeah, I mean, think about it. Like, they got one good starting pitch, and you know, I'm not using the injury excuse either because they don't have a lot of injuries. They're without Luke Voigt. Obviously, that's a bad injury for them, and they are without Severino for now. He'll be back later.
Jay Bruce just retired,
recovering from big loss there, Jay Bruce.
Severino's not the problem.
I know. Yeah,
Garrett Cole set a team record for the most strikeouts in his first 4 starts of a season.
Yeah.
39 Ks. He lost today.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well,
why?
I mean, that just shows
scored
that
2 runs and had 11 hits the whole series. That's why.
Yeah, it's not that I don't think that they can hit. I'm sure that they'll turn it around. Right now, I guess they've just got the early season slump going, and it's contagious. I guess I don't know. I've seen the Mets do it 1,000 times where nobody could buy a hit, but I just don't think that they are as good as we think they are. I think that all of New York, you know, they got obsessed with the idea of the baby bomb. Remember the baby bombers 2016, 2017 when they were all coming up? Well,
look,
think about how
Aaron Boone has taken over as manager, except for obviously last year when he only played 60 games. They've won 100 games a season. So they've had reason to back that up. Not going all the way in the playoffs is another story. Look what the Dodgers have had to do since finally winning it all last year. Look how many false starts the Dodgers had.
Yeah, but the Dodgers at least won 2 NL pennants in a row before that too. The Yankees haven't even gotten over the hump. But let me just make this one point: the Yankees rotation has never been strong, and now it's really weak. Like, it is really weak. After Garrett Cole is the best pitcher in the AL. I mean, I don't think that there's a debate there. He's probably the second best pitcher in baseball behind only Jacob deGrom. But after Garrett Cole, they've got retreads and they've got young guys. I mean, Corey Kluber has pitched 3 games the last 2 years? He had to have like a tryout that all 30 teams sent a scout to in order just to get attention. And he's obviously not pitching well. And then Jameson Taillon, who I like Taillon. I thought he was a good pitcher in Pittsburgh, but he's had a couple of rough years in a row, and it started rough so far in New York for him. Jordan Montgomery's not bad. But
this team was never designed to ride pitching.
Yes,
it's designed to ride hitting, and the pitching, again, the just good enough theory. The pitching only had to be good enough not to undermine the hitting. And when they don't hit, they're dead. And this is throughout their history. Okay, the guys know this. My theory it's not really a theory, it's been proven by stats. If the Yankees average more than 5 runs a game, they finish in first or second, which means wild card or division.
Yeah.
In 1997, which is the last time they started the season 5-10, they won the wild card. Okay, and they were defending world champions from the year before. But the point remains, if they, with rare exceptions, and those last exceptions happened in the 70s, rare exceptions, if they don't score 5 runs a game plus, they don't win. And that's the first thing that's got to be fixed. The pitching is okay. Not great, but okay. On a normal day, Garrett Cole pitched well enough to win because the Yankee offense would be able to carry him. Garrett Cole ends up losing because he has no margin for error. Look at Jacob deGrom, the other great pitcher you just said. Yeah. Nobody hits for him.
No, he hits for him.
Right.
Yeah, he's hitting .571 this year.
He had to do it Saturday just to get the team a win.
Yeah, I know. He had to leave the game just for them to score him a couple of runs. But I do want to mention this too about the Yankees. The Yankees are horrible defensively. They're horrible. Gleyber Torres is a horrible shortstop, right? He's a better second baseman than he is a shortstop, but he wasn't a very good second baseman either. He's an offensive player, and he's a horrible shortstop. Gary Sanchez has been the worst, maybe overall catcher, let alone defensive, since 2017? I mean, he drops fastballs. There was that ALCS game in 2017 when Verlander went like 10 innings and the Astros won in overtime, in extra innings. There was a perfect relay throw made to the plate, and Gary Sanchez dropped the throw and the walk-off run scored. He's still horrible. I think he already has a couple of errors this year and a couple passed balls. Okay, they're bad behind the plate. They're bad up the middle. DJ is obviously a good player, but they got DJ playing first base because Voit is gone. And Voit himself is a horrible first baseman. So when he comes back, that's not going to get any better. And then, the outfield isn't bad. Aaron Hicks has had a couple of leg injuries, so he's lost a lot of range. And that makes him totally worthless because his best value is defensively. He was always a really good center fielder. He's hitting 160 right now. They're batting him third in the lineup, and he's hitting 160. Your 3-hitter is supposed to be your best hitter traditionally. I mean, some say the 2-hitter now, but traditionally your 3-hitter is the best hitter. He's hitting 160, and then Giancarlo Stanton is hitting 176.
I'm just stunned again, just looking at all the numbers and stuff. Well, I do just because I'm stunned. I'm stunned at how but I'm stunned at how historically bad it is, though, Matt. I mean, every stat, where you see like worse since, those were like historically bad Yankee teams, like 68, 69, those are 73, 89 teams. Those teams didn't even sniff the playoffs. And the Yankees are on that pace this early. It's not a good sign. It's something you expect.
They started the 98 season 1-5. Come on.
I know.
Now we're at 5-10.
Look, I expect them to turn it around, but it is a weakly constructed team. Again, weak starting pitching, thin starting pitching. The bullpen's not pitching well. That's something that they do traditionally have locked down. The bullpen's not pitching well. And then, of course, I remember they're going to hit
Rivera blowing a save in April, and I lost it. And to the Red Sox, he came around. I'm not saying that you're wrong. You're not wrong. This is cause for concern. It's not just because they're losing that they start season 5-10. It's the way they're losing is what's getting on people's nerves. There's no doubt about that. Yeah. But these guys I think they'll turn around to the extent. Now, the defense, you're bringing up an excellent point because obviously pitching, your pitching sometimes is only as good as the gloves behind you.
Yeah, absolutely.
And, yeah. We had, again, blast from the long past, when I was a kid past. A couple of years back, we had Fritz Peterson on because he had a book out. And the book was entitled When the Yankees Were on the Fritz, speaking specifically about 1965 to 1973 when the Yankees couldn't get a whiff for the playoffs. But he won 20 games in 1970. Mel Stottlemyre, their 1-2 were as good as any 1-2 in baseball. The problem is they didn't have a great 3, 4, and 5. And the Baltimore Orioles were in their division, and they had 4 20-game winners.
4 20-game winners, yeah.
Right.
But the
so,
were just too
but
high.
what they also have, they had Brooks Robinson at third base, Mark Belanger at short, Davey Johnson at second, and Boog Powell at first. They had the best infield of their time. And look at the big red machine that followed them in terms of dominance. Tony Perez, Joe Morgan, Dave Concepcion, and Pete Rose at the third. So, great, monumental, Hall of Fame level infielders. Yankees had Horace Clarke at second base. And he said, he threw his infielders under the bus. If Mel or I had the Orioles infield behind us, Mel would have won 30, and I would have won 20 more often. There you go.
Yeah. Well, again, it's just I'm glad you did bring that up, that their 1-2 was as good, because that is relevant. Because even when Severino comes back, and I'm assuming that'll be All-Star break time.
Around July, yeah.
Yeah, they're going to have 2 pretty good pitchers. But, I mean, you could say that, but Severino didn't pitch last year, barely pitched in 2019, right? So he hasn't really seen the mound much. But let's assume he comes back and he's Luis Severino, okay? They only have 2 good starting pitchers then. And I do expect them to turn it around offensively, okay? Maybe they needed to get swept at home by the Rays in order to kick it into gear, right?
If they hit, the 3, 4, and 5 will look a lot better. Now, remember, too, those years I was talking about, that team didn't hit.
Absolutely.
Yeah, what we're looking at here is that we're looking at the proper wake-up call for the Yankees, because we know that they're loaded, but they're not playing like the loaded team that we would expect them to be. DJ LeMahieu, the reigning AL batting champ from the shortened season last year, and Aaron Judge, who at full health looks like some type of power hitter as well. And you know the catching situation is serious. You still got Higashioka in there, so
yeah, but Higashioka is not that good. I know that like the numbers right now are pretty good, but it's way too early. And backup catchers will do stuff like that where they'll have one good game, and because they don't really play much, their average is a little higher. Higashioka hit 2 home runs a couple of games ago, but he's traditionally not a good hitter. He's a career sub 200 hitter, so you can't rely on Higashioka. But the problem is Gary Sanchez has actually proven that you can't rely on him, yet they still rely on him. Every year he finds his way back onto the roster as the starting catcher.
There are reasons why the Molina family has had such long careers at catcher.
Yes,
it's
Jose,
they're hitting.
Yachty, obviously.
Benji, and run down the list of Molinas.
Yeah.
But
well, the thing is, for Gary, I thought he had a pretty good spring. For the most Yankees, he was getting his batting averages up, his home runs were up, and then he hit the hump once after really opening day. It's kind of been all downhill from here. Yeah. And statistically, it's not great, although numbers-wise, he's at 237, which is better than the likes of a Giancarlo Stanton or Aaron Hicks, which isn't saying much, but it's also saying a lot at the same time.
Yeah, it's high for him, too. And that just goes to show you that spring training is as relevant as the K in knife, Like you shouldn't watch a spring training game and go like, yeah, this is how it's going to be. Because a lot of the pitchers are kids who are trying to make the team. Some of them are 18. Some of them are 18 or 19. Right? So that's why spring training is not a good indicator. But I get why you would maybe be hopeful after seeing Gary Sanchez hit well, over any small stretch. You'd be like, oh, okay, good. Maybe it's a sign of things to come.
I think the other part too is just the brand. Is because you're a Yankee. I'm sure it's Matt, as you're going to explain.
But no, keep going, Ken.
Oh, well, yeah, that's the main thing. You got so many talented catchers. Matt, you can run down the list, but so many great players that, they have a rough start, but they always find a way to come through. And, watching a player like Sanchez, you think he's going to be the next guy up, and you're just going to keep waiting and waiting and waiting. And for now, it seems like he's falling further.
Hey guys, welcome back.
Sorry, I was a little bit just in time because we're talking about Gary Sanchez. Have fun.
Gary Sanchez. How about we talk about the fact that this team has no life? They look like just a bunch of walking zombies. I still, for whatever reason, don't understand why Aaron Hicks is the number 3 hitter. I literally want to throw if I didn't want to just, if I didn't love where I lived, I'd probably have some destruction on the walls and stuff like that, because it's like I truly just don't understand why Aaron Hicks is number 1 still on this team, number 2 batting
as
third.
Opposed to Jay Bruce.
Okay. Listen, I mean, I really don't listen, Jay Bruce here or there. We all knew that there was going to be a Band-Aid until Luke Voigt came back, and ultimately we knew that it was going to happen where DJ LeMahieu was going to be taking over first base, because I really didn't think Jay Bruce was going to be productive, to where everybody maybe thought he was going to be productive. I'm just saying that this team right now, and I get it, we're 15 games into the season. You look at it that, the sky, I mean, you can't sit here and say the sky's falling, but it is rather concerning that this team just looks like they're not having fun. And listen, losing is no fun. And over again, we go back to the whole thing of, boy, do we miss George Steinbrenner, because if the boss was here, heads would be rolling, people would be fired. And I honestly believe if this trend continues, I don't think Aaron Boone has much longer as manager of the New York Yankees. The other funny thing is that, and I read this on Twitter at some point, and I know that somebody was probably just saying this as a joke, but then when I read more into it and thought about it, I was like, you know what? That's actually not a bad analogy. Somebody wrote that the Yankees players look at Aaron Boone as like the substitute teacher, where nobody really gives him that much respect. And quite honestly, I personally feel that, and this is where the traditionalist in myself comes in to play, where I personally feel that an older manager will earn more respect from players. I think when you have a manager who's relatively close, when you have a manager that's relatively close in age to certain players, I think that's where it could be a little bit of an issue. And quite frankly, Aaron Boone getting mad, like I said, it's like the substitute teacher getting mad at you for not doing your work. So it might sound like a silly, a silly little thing there, but I firmly believe that. And if the Yankees come May are still in the cellar of the AL East, I think a managerial change has to happen. Yeah, granted, we always sit there and say you can't fire the players, but you can fire the manager, and that's what it ultimately comes down to. And listen. I'm sorry. I know I'm keep on going on because, I'm a little bit late to the party here, but I also believe in the fact that a manager or a coach, while they have the knowledge of the game, their main job is to get you prepared for your opponent.
True.
Is to get you prepared to go to war. And quite frankly, I don't believe Aaron Boone is doing a very good job preparing this team. I think that you have a lot of players on this team who think that they might be better than what they are, but guess what? They're striking out a lot, and it's an issue. and it needs to be fixed now.
My question, though, is that, yes, the Yankees strike out too much and have been doing it for a number of years now.
Yeah.
Even in the 100-win seasons.
Yeah, that's just part of their shtick. That's not even concerning.
But you want to know something else?
But guess what? That's where I'm sorry. That's where I'm sorry. This is where I get pissed off at analytics, because the Yankees should not be living by the home run or strikeout mentality.
Yeah.
They need at least 3 or 4 DJ LeMahieu and Gio Urshela's in the lineup where guys can hit for contact. I don't give a crap about a home run ball that we need. If there's a guy on third base with 1 out and we need that run to come in, get a fly ball in the air or get it to the right side. The problem is that we have guys on this team who think because they have all this power that they're going to put one over the fence. And it's just not going to happen. And as long as the New York Yankees have that issue, I really do believe this is where I question Brian Cashman and how he built this team.
Yeah. Well, you hit the nail on the head. They have too many 3 true outcome guys, and it's going to get that way when Luke Voit comes back. I know everybody likes Luke Voit. He's cool. He's huge. Yeah.
You know what though? I think he hits more for average than the other guys.
Unbuttoned, but at the same time, like you hit the nail on the head. They don't do anything big time. You know, I've had this stat with me for like the last hour now. So Aaron Judge in his career, 6 years. This is his 6th year. It's his 5th full year. It's his 6th total year. He has 24 career home runs with runners in scoring position. He only hits .258 with runners in scoring position. They're not a clutch team in general, home run ball or not. They just don't make the play that they need to. It's a front runner type mentality, because how many games last year did they score double-digit runs in? You know, when the getting's good, everybody hits. Everybody hits 2 home runs and has 5 RBIs. You know, against the Orioles, Glaber loves to hit home runs against the Orioles. Everybody feasts on the cellar-dwelling teams on the New York Yankees. They're a front-running team.
The shit wins.
They're just not.
Listen, I will say I think Voit does hit a little bit better for average.
Yeah,
obviously last year was a little bit
hitter, but...
okay. So yeah, and that's the problem, is that when it comes down to crunch time, look, we could sit here and demolish the Yankees over 15 games in the regular season thus far. Okay. I honestly, if you're Yankees lock in to make the playoffs, that's where I become concerned, because it will be the same old story with the Yankees in the playoffs, where they will either win by that home run ball or they will lose because they will leave runners in scoring position.
Trying to that home run.
Ultimately, that's what it comes down to me. I'm just saying right now, no, the sky is not falling, but there is cause for concern, and we are seeing the flaws in this team and how it needs to be built. Look at the Dodgers. They are a powerhouse team, but they can hit with runners in scoring position because they have the players to do so. Justin Turner is a contact hitter. Perfect. He is the Dodgers' DJ LeMahieu when it comes to that situation. Okay. Mookie Betts. Yeah, Mookie Betts can hit home runs, but Mookie Betts also hits for average.
Yeah.
Okay.
Right.
Listen, you will see the lower averages and the Cody Bellingers and the Max Muncies, because they have that power stroke where you could get away with those 2 guys batting in the mid 200s, but giving you that power because you have the balance of contact hitters in the Dodger lineup. The Yankees don't. Their best hitter is their leadoff hitter, and that's a problem.
Yeah.
Because the best hitter is technically supposed to be in that 3 spot. Okay? The 3 hitter is supposed to be your best hitter. The number 4 hitter is that
Dodgers,
power guy who,
Yeah.
Also playing at Pitcher's Park. They have
great pitching.
If they're going to be any good, they have to. Dodger Stadium, of course, Joe remembers Shea Stadium. younger guys may not remember it as well.
Oh, we remember Shea Stadium.
But the gaps in Dodger Stadium are deep. The gaps in Joe Nathan Field are deep.
Yeah. The gaps in Shea Stadium are pretty deep.
Yeah. The whole point is that Dodger championship teams always had great pitching. Koufax, Drysdale, Hershiser, run down the list.
I got to give credit. I got to give credit where credit is due. I really, really thought the Dodgers were going to have that hangover. But in all honesty, they look like a team that wants to break the regular season win record now that they have 162 games to choose from. I really do. I know that. But I really do think that they want that record. And number two, they want to be the first team since the 99-2000 Yankees to repeat as champions. We haven't had a repeat in 20 years. Yeah. So I do think, and they look like a hungry team. So right then and there, you look at the Dodgers, you look at the Yankees, who collectively we all know on paper going into the season, those two teams were to meet in the World Series. The Dodgers look like a hungry team, and they are not hungover by any means. And that's the difference between a winning team.
13 started. Absolutely incredible.
Find me on this New York Yankee team a Paul O'Neill.
There is none. And that's the problem.
I really think he's called Brandon Nimmo.
I really think for me personally, the leadership comes into question.
Oh, yes.
Okay.
That Yankee team didn't just have Paul O'Neill.
Yeah,
did not just have Paul O'Neill.
I know, Matt, I'm sure you read it, but I'm talking to now the younger guys here on this show and anybody that's listening. Go and get that the Empire book that not recently came out, but it came out last year. The Yankee book, Building an Empire or whatever the title was. I don't know, Matt. Okay.
I was there.
The number one thing in the 2008 offseason going into 2009, Brian Cashman immediately said he needs leadership in the clubhouse. And that's the reason why he went straight for CC Sabathia. The most important thing for Cashman was that he felt the clubhouse was losing its leadership, and he went out and got leadership.
It was.
CC Sabathia left, and then obviously, Brett Gardner. But I felt as if, though, with Brett Gardner getting that diminishing role, you kind of lose that leadership a little bit. And I honestly think that there is not one person on the Yankees that is a leader.
Yeah, and that it makes me disappointed in Giancarlo Stanton because, he's a National League MVP. He should have shifted into leadership role by now.
Let me tell you something. Home run sluggers like that and superstars with those big contracts, they might pretend, they might put on that pretend look of, I'm going to step up and be a leader, but in reality, they're not. They are not. They need to be certain. There's a certain character. And to me, Stanton is not the same type of character as a CC Sabathia.
But so, even then, the Yankees still had the core four. And yes, adding CC made the pitching better and the leadership in the clubhouse better. Adding Teixeira made the hitting better. And both those free agent signings put the Yankees over the top.
Ultimately, yes, the Yankees had the core four. And to me, I'm sorry, I consider it the core five because I always include Bernie Williams in that conversation.
But Bernie was there. By then. Bernie was out by then.
No, 100%. But, we had the core four, but we all knew that Jeter was the true leader in that clubhouse. Nothing against Mo, nothing against Posada, nothing against Pettit, but Jeter was the leadership guy there.
No question about it. That's why he was made captain. But the important thing here is that
I'm sorry.
There's nobody on that team I would name captain. On this
exactly, and there are Yankee fans, going into this. Oh, Aaron Judge needs to be the captain. No, he is not. He does not exemplify what a captain. Yeah, he might speak very, very well, and that, to me, I think. that to me, I think is great that you can have those speaking skills. And I think that's where I think also coming from a very, good home and stuff like that, because I always look at that. But outside of that, there's no leadership skills. Everybody can say the right thing on the microphone to the media after the game, but it's the stuff that happens behind the scenes that truly makes a leader. And I agree with you, Matt. There is not one Yankee player on this team that should be captain. And quite honestly, I go back to the beginning of this conversation. There needs to be some sort of question if the Yankee players truly respect their manager. And that's also ties into the leadership. That ties into the leadership.
One of the reasons why Aaron Judge should not be, or he can't be, a leader on the magnitude of Derek Jeter is he's not in the lineup often enough. We were talking about this last week.
Yeah,
I said, Aaron Judge at 80% of output, 40 home runs out of 50, I'd take every year. Problem is, we haven't been getting him at 50% because he's been out of the lineup all the time.
And that's the problem. And listen,
a leader unless you're in the lineup every day, and Jeter was.
And that ties into the fact that if Aaron Judge thinks he's getting this mammoth contract, listen, you know what this is going to turn into? I'm going to tell you exactly what this is going to turn into. This is going to be a similar situation as to the Robinson Cano situation when the Yankees let him walk via free agency because they felt he wasn't worth the money that the Mariners gave him. And look at what happened. Aaron Judge is going to sit there and think that because he's still Aaron Judge and he can have 2 home run games here and there and put up big power home run numbers, he's sadly mistaken because his injury history will come back to bite him. And I'm telling you, watch how this is going to unfold. It's not going to be – and if I'm the Yankees, I would 100% be reluctant to give anything more than a 3 to 4 year contract. There's no way am I giving this guy 7 years, 8 years.
Yeah, that's totally realistic with how pressed up against the luxury tax they are with the Cole and Stanton deals. But I do. So there was just a point made earlier, like you guys were saying, that's the difference between the Dodgers and the Yankees. The other real legitimate fundamental difference between the Dodgers and the Yankees, one, the Dodgers have speed. The Yankees don't have a lot of speed.
Yep.
Dodgers need speed.
The Dodgers.
Pitcher's Park.
Yeah, but the Dodgers also
always
play
had speed.
The Dodgers play elite defense too. I do want to point that out. And now also, we should at least peruse.
Listen,
there is another New York team that I think we should mention because they're actually not doing so bad.
No, 100% not. And real quick, just to jump on what you were just saying real quick, you're right. The Yankees have a major defensive problem. And what needs to happen is DJ LeMahieu needs to be your first baseman until Luke Voit comes back. You have to somehow get Gleyber Torres out of the shortstop position. I think he needs to go back to second base, and that's an issue. And if I'm the Yankees, then guess what? I think I need to take a look at Trevor Story, who most likely is not going to be re-signing a massive contract in Colorado, considering that Colorado is on the rebuild. I think Trevor Story is 100% going to be hitting the market. But if the Yankees can try to acquire him at the deadline, then I think it would be absolutely beneficial to this team to fix that shortstop issue.
The way they played this weekend, I can't blame him at all.